Welcome back to Hardball. A civil war of sorts has erupted already in the Republican Party. It's conservatives versus moderates. And according to a new Gallup poll just out, conservatives look like they're winning big time. 40% of those surveyed describe their political views in this country as conservative, while 36% say their views are moderate. Among Republicans, 72% identify themselves as conservative, with only 24% saying they're moderate these days. So, is the best way forward for the Republican Party to go hard right? Pat Buchanan's an MSNBC political analyst. He's also the commander-in-chief of the Pitchfork Brigades. And Bob Herbert is probably not a big Republican and probably has never, I guess, since the days of Rockefeller. You're probably a Rockefeller guy, I guess.
There were some liberal Republicans back in the day.
Yeah, I think Lindsay, when he was 100% with a Cope rating.
I think we got them all.
Let's take a look now at this polling number. These numbers are dramatic. Pat, your party has a very strong tradition of when it loses with a so-called middle-of-the-roader, like McCain, they go right.
Well, that's true. They did with Reagan, certainly, and they did with Jerry Ford, and they did with Reagan.
They did it with Goldwater after Nixon lost.
But what this poll says, Chris, is if the Republican Party wants to be America's party again, it's got to be the conservative party. Now, that doesn't mean go hard right, but they got to have no pale pastels. That's what Ronald Reagan said. There's got to be a clear difference between Democrats and Republicans. That's the way Americans.
But there's a BS factor here. I was reading William Kristol's column today, and I thought there was a lot of BS in it.
Well,
he said the conservatives are taking over, and it's no surprise, right, to you.
Right.
But he says the Republicans are going conservative. And then he says Mitt Romney is a conservative. Mitt Romney has been all over the board politically. He's been pro-choice, pro-life. He's been everything up in Massachusetts. Who says he's an outsider?
Well,
where did that come from?
But look, you're exactly right. He has been all over the lot. But every time he flips, he's always coming to our side.
But you love him.
I like him.
You love him. Is he one of you? Is he a Pitchfork guy?
I love Sarah Palin. I mean, Sarah Palin.
Okay, if you want to vote right now, here, I put a piece of paper down.
No.
Palin or this other guy, Mitt Romney. Which one you put on check next to?
If you're voting your heart,
yeah,
you'd vote Palin.
No, vote for who you want to lead the country.
If you're voting your heart, you'd vote Palin. I'm not sure if you're voting your head.
Well, I'm asking you to bottom line this and stop this withering, dithering, waffling. You're acting like you accuse the other guy.
I'm for Hoffman in the 23rd
yeah, I know.
district.
See,
okay?
What a chicken. See, this, Robert, is what dithering and waffling look like. Because he can't figure out his sister is running the Mitt Romney campaign, so he doesn't want to go home and deal with her, with Bay, so he's all over the place. Your thoughts as an observer from a distance of the Republican Party. Do you see a lurch to the right? I feel that if I went to a Republican event and heard Palin there, I think people would be out of their chairs jumping up and down. I don't care if it's Western Pennsylvania or it's Western United States. If I went to a Mitt Romney event, I would expect a lot of businessmen there from the Rotary Club and the Lions Club with polite applause when he said, let's cut taxes. But I wouldn't sense passion. Your thoughts?
I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, Palin is charismatic and a big name and a big star, and she fires the people up. The question is, what are your goals? Do you want to try and take back control of the American government if you're a Republican? And they're not going to be able to do that moving to the right. The Republicans have a real advantage now as we got off-year elections coming up. We're coming out of a recession, but employment is still high and maybe getting higher. And there's a chance for the Republicans to make some inroads. But they have to move to the center to do that. And if you look at Kristol's column today, you have the poll and you have those numbers, but I would look past those numbers because I think in the same poll they asked the public at large, what do you think about, who do you think would be best in running the country? And the Republicans came in last there.
Well, they're down at 8. They're down there. They're terrible. They're about 19%.
They're down about 19%. They're behind the congressional Democrats, and they're behind President Obama, who graded out the highest at 49%. So what the Republicans really need to do, I think, is move to the center, appeal to some of those independents, and I think they can make some inroads. But right now, with this infighting, they're playing into the Democrats' hands.
Look, we're not running the presidential campaign. If you're talking 2010, you're talking Sarah Palin. We can all unite behind what we are against in the Obama administration, your Obamacare.
She's a better opposition leader than Romney.
She's an opposition leader, a rally leader, but all Republicans can unite. Our problem's going to come, Chris, our conservative problem's going to come 2011, 2012. How do you stand on Afghanistan if we've been there 4 years? Are you going to cut taxes to get the economy moving if we've had $4
Here's the disconnect.
deficits?
Rob, there's a big disconnect here in the polling, and I've looked at the NBC poll, and we're going to have it more tonight. I've looked at the Gallup numbers. Here's the disconnect. The Republican Party is a lousy brand name right now. It is way down below 1 in 5. But on every issue, from semi-automatic weapons to traditional values to abortion to every regulation of business, every issue, the country is lurching to the right in ideological terms. At the same time, they've debased the Republican brand. How do we explain that, Rob?
Look, are you saying the country's lurching to the right?
On every issue, though, you look at the Gallup poll.
I completely disagree with that. I mean, you're giving too much credence to this poll. Pat just said a moment ago that Republicans can unite behind all these issues for the off-year elections. They haven't even been able to unite in this upstate congressional district in a congressional election that's coming up next week. You've got Republicans lining up behind a conservative party candidate who's putting the knife in the back of the Republican candidate. So where's the unity?
Which one's going to win? Who's going to win that race, Pat? Is Doug Hoffman, your guy, the conservative party, going to beat the regular Republican and the Democrat, or is the Democrat going to sneak past both of them?
The Republican will run third. I think Hoffman will do a Jim Buckley, what we did in 1970, Chris. We signaled to guys up there that the conservative, if he can win, go with him. This fella can win. He's rallied. I mean, he's rallied everybody all over the country. And this shows that, look, conservatism is a fine brand.
Let me ask you this. Suppose the Democrat wins because the right was split. Does that make your point? I hear that says the conservatives are more powerful than ever, Robert, because that says that they can destroy any Republican ticket. And in a way, the conservative party becomes more powerful if they're the spoilers. What do you think?
The conservatives become more powerful. The people on the hard right in the Republican Party become more powerful. But that's bad news for the Republican Party nationally overall. I mean, that's a narrow base, that hard right base.
Suppose a Democrat wins, Bob, in 2012, you nominate Hoffman as the Republican candidate, and he takes the seat because he's going to beat her, and he's stronger than she is. Chris, the pendulum's going to come back to the Republican Party somewhat in 2010 and 2012. You want Ronald Reagan there. You don't want a moderate or liberal Republican when the opportunity hits.
The Ronald Reagan who raised taxes, or the Ronald Reagan who said he wouldn't?
Okay, the problem with your Jim Buckley, I like Jim Buckley too, but Jim Buckley ran against two liberals, and that's why he won. Right. You got two conservatives here. I'm just asking you, Pat.
You got two liberals in 23rd District.
Well, you're Scarfosa?
Liberal Republican, Chris, one of the 4%.
You have a good point there. You make a good point.
I love who you guys call liberal now. I mean, there aren't any more liberals left in this country.
She's more strongly
give him the definition. Why is she a liberal?
She's more pro-gay marriage than Barack Obama. How's that?
What do you mean?
She's in favor of gay marriage. Barack Obama said, no, I'm man and a wife, man and a woman. She's pro-choice on abortion. She's pro-card check, taking away the right of a union guy to vote.
Here's what's going on, strangely enough. Bob, here's something's going on. You don't like the new polling, but I find fascinating the polling. The country's getting more libertarian in many ways, much more for same-sex marriage than ever was in our history. In fact, one of the pollsters said they've never seen a lurch in any direction like they've seen in the last couple of years towards support for same-sex. So we know it from talking to people in their 20s and 30s. How
is that a lurch to the right in the American public?
That's right.
What I'm trying to tell you.
It's libertarian, but it's liberal.
I don't think the public is lurching to the right.
But look, it is moving in that direction, but they've had 30 votes, and we've won every single one.
But look at the direction. How do you correspond that? How do you reconcile the fact the country's getting more supportive of same-sex marriage, but yet on issues like guns,
I can
more
reconcile
conservative?
that.
I can understand that. I can understand the guns very easily. People are afraid of what's happening.
And they need semi-automatic weapons to walk around the streets?
They're afraid of the future. Don't try to take away the guns, but I'll tell you, it is true that young people more and more are pro-gay marriage. I mean, that's the great civil rights issue for those folks. I don't agree with it. Our folks are dying off on this issue.
Chris, here's what I think is happening. I don't think the voters, for the most part, are interested in the ideological arguments. I think they're interested in economic matters. I think it is a time for a populist to emerge. That populist could emerge on the left or the right. I think a populist who focuses on jobs, who gets the attention of the public, if the public believes that that person will help get their family finances back in order, that's the person that will emerge in the leadership role.
On that. I agree with him 100% on that. Jobs, American jobs, manufacturing jobs, industrial policy, whether you're left or right, is going to be a huge winner. It is going to be a winner. I mean, look what McCain killed himself by going out there for NAFTA. He went to Canada.
We're back into the rant here. I know where Pat's at. Economic nationalism put up the wall. McKinley is back.